So people like to take selfies with murals, people like to have photos, they tag their location, and yeah, so it's quite a popular career choice now for artists.
Fork in the road between thriving and starving artists is where I'm at. I really like your work. I can't eat lights. I need new heights. Just want to make a living doing the work I love. Throw the notion of a starving artist out of the window. Take the elevator down to the ground floor and jump on it some more.
Welcome, Kat. And how would you describe, how would you introduce your styles of art that you do?
A bit of a combination. So I'm a full-time freelancer and I predominantly work as a muralist, and I love to work in a realistic style, working with nature, botanicals, portraiture, all that kind of thing. I do signwriting as well, where the opportunity arises. I do a bit of corporate digital illustration, some fine art on canvas, so painting people's pets, memorial portraits and things like that. And just wherever the work requires someone to draw something or paint something, basically. And if I feel like I can do it, I'll do it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it looks like you've got quite a business going from your Instagram and so many amazing outdoor, large scale artworks. What drew you to do that kind of outdoor mural kind of work?
It kind of almost fell into it. So I started off doing sort of commission artwork on the side probably about a decade ago, doing portraits, starting off as a graphite artist, doing portraits of people, portraits of pets, drawing, started moving into painting a bit. And then I think this was before there was a really big boom in mural art as well, in popularity. And then one day someone asked me if I could paint in their cafe. And I basically said, I haven't done it before, but I'll give it a go, and drew something up and then just kind of freehanded it. It was quite simple, but it actually turned out really well and I was really happy with it. And then it just kind of slowly snowballed from there. So it started off with maybe doing like one mural and then 2 murals a year and then 3 or 4 murals a year. And then it's really just sort of become the majority of my work now, now that councils and schools and businesses are all on board, because I guess they all use it as a form of advertisement as well. So people like to take selfies with murals, people like to have photos, they tag their location, and yeah, so it's quite a popular career choice now for artists. So
Yeah, and I think that's great, of the fact that your your artwork is so big, and in a way it's almost like a billboard for you as an artist. Is that kind of how you felt that people, like how one job snowballed into another? Is that kind of how it worked?
Yeah, it did become a lot of word of mouth. I've only really just started advertising it a lot now, because I do really want to do it all the time now, because being an artist, I guess it can be very isolating, quite lonely working for yourself and sitting in a studio. So when I get opportunities to be out in the public or working on site and meeting new people, it's just, it's incredible. So yeah, when you do paint, especially in public, it does become a billboard. Your name's on it. You put your Instagram on it. I always I get t-shirts printed as well with my details on the back of my t-shirt when I'm painting too. So if people see me and they don't want to interrupt me, they take a photo of the back of my shirt and they can contact me. But I always take ages to paint public murals because I talk to everyone. So for a chat,
and it's a great way to meet with the public as well. So I was thinking that's brilliant how you've got your signature on there as well. You have your Instagram handle. You normally put that on with the mural as well?
Usually no. I just have a bunch of business cards with me when I am painting. My name, I think now that I've done a few public ones, if people do search Kat Dean mural artist, I think it does come up in Google.
It comes straight up, yeah.
To find now, which is good, yeah. But yeah, my favorite is I love painting at schools. I love painting around kids. Kids give the best compliments and sometimes the harshest critics, but they're like it's so funny to paint around. I just finished just a little mural at a primary school just last week, and I was just finishing up, and some of the kids were just like, oh, I'm going to miss you so much. I'm like, oh, I've only been here for 3 days, but I'm like, thanks, man. I want to be an artist when I grow up. And I was like, that's great. And just, they're so fascinated by
Yeah,
the whole process, and especially when they can get involved with the concept stage as well. Yeah.
yeah. Do they find, do you kind of have to like fend them off for paints a bit, or
Sometimes,
or
yeah.
do you have some interactive stuff where they do some of it and you do some of it?
I haven't done any of that yet, just because of, I guess, insurance issues. I'm not
Yeah,
sort of covered for that kind of, but I do like to get them involved with the concept creation side. So I love to come into schools when I get the opportunity to chat to them about what I do, take them through the process of what I do, and then get them involved with the concepting. So I'll get them to tell me like what they like or what they want to see, because if it's at a school, obviously they're the ones who are seeing it, and then I
yeah,
take their ideas and just put together a concept. Then I ask for their feedback and say, okay, what do you like about this? What do you want me to change? And then that gives them a bit of ownership over it, which is really nice. And they get to meet me while I'm painting it, and they get to see the whole
yeah,
process from the grid to the end result. And yeah.
yeah. That's really cool. So who were your, like, when you were just, obviously when you were younger, who were the artists and or even the art businesses that you found inspirational and made you think that, hey, I could actually turn my love of artwork and painting into a business? Was there anyone who you kind of looked up towards?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first time I ever like really took a notice of a mural was Lisa King. That Adelaide muralist who, she did the big like David Bowie ones, and the ones in Adelaide. That was the first time I kind of saw like portraits on
That,
sides of buildings.
yeah,
And
yeah,
she was, I've never actually met her, but I follow her work, and I think she's overseas and stuff. And I think her work's just incredible. And that was
mm,
sort of really inspirational, and just seeing things on silos, and just thinking like, wow, like, and just being so fascinated by their process and learning about how they grid and they design. And that was just sort of almost like scary to me. I was like, how is that even possible? Seeing them up in a boom lift and all that kind of
yeah.
stuff. And then it kind of it inspired me, sort of thinking, I was like, if that, maybe I could do that. Like, maybe that's an option.
So are there any particular styles of mural that you prefer to paint, or what do you? I've noticed a lot of animals, and I'm into animals. So do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Realistic garden, lots of leaves, lots of plants, lots of animals, especially dogs. I'm a dog person. I love painting dogs.
Yeah,
Love painting native animals. Love painting reptiles. I've found a new passion for reptiles as well.
yeah,
Portraits I have a love-hate relationship with, like people portraits. They probably are the most challenging, especially if they have to depict a specific person.
yeah,
They can be very, very challenging. But if it's just a general face stuff, that can generally be okay. But yeah, anything with a lot of layers, a lot of realism, a lot of depth, that kind of thing. I prefer that actually over things that are just flat colors with straight lines, or like
okay,
edges, because I find things with crisp edges and much more challenging and difficult, because I feel like there's less room for error. Whereas with
right,
realism, I layer everything, so I just go over it and over and over until I'm happy with it. So I can, if I make a mistake, I just paint over it and paint over it. But things where the background color of the wall is the background color, you can't get paint on it, so there's
yeah,
that room for error, and then you have to be really quickly to get rid of it, especially if you don't have that background color to work with.
yeah,
Things like sign writing jobs, they look so simple, but they're so tricky, especially if you're trying to paint
yes,
like this particular font that has to be a particular color that matches a brand and all that kind of stuff. So definitely realistic, realism with lots of
yeah.
layers. Yeah.
Is it tricky? Like, I mean, I can't imagine illustrating or painting something that's meant to be realistic, but like about 10 times larger than it normally is. Is it still kind of on the same level, or do you find it a lot harder to illustrate realistically large at all?
It's actually easier large,
Right.
because you could just use bigger brushes, bigger rollers. I'm not a huge fan of aerosol cans. I only really use them if I have to, like if there's a particular gradient I need to get and I can't achieve that with a roller, usually like a sunset or something on a textured surface. But yeah, with smaller, really detailed work, you're doing the same thing but with a smaller brush and more attention to detail. It's one of the reasons why I actually stopped doing a lot of my fine graphite and fine pencil illustration, because it would just take me so long. So I used to do a lot of dog portraits in pencil, and they'd be maybe A4 or A3, and they'd take me about 3 or 4 days to draw them. But I can do
right.
there, on a much larger scale on a canvas in a day, and it looks just as beautiful because I'm using bigger brushes. I'm using a multitude of different types of paints and brushes and styles of brushes for different effects. Whereas pencils, you got the one little tip of the pencil that you're working with, and you're drawing like one hair at a time and things like that. They look beautiful, but they just the amount of hours that you would put into drawing a dog that would take 3 or 4 days, people wouldn't want to pay for the amount of hours that it would take, kind of thing. Yeah. So when you're trying to make a business,
and you can get the details more perfect, I suppose, when you're doing a larger scale. I know when one thing I found out doing my first kids book is that it's much easier to illustrate the page like double size, and then you can get all this kind of little fine detail in, and then when it shrunk down to the size you need, it actually looks really crisp and beautiful and like it's full of detail, and yet it was much easier to do it large.
Yeah, it's much better on your eyes and on your hands and everything. Struggle when there's lots of like tiny, and I it's one of my things that I struggle with is I still do a lot of attention to detail where with murals where I probably don't need to, because on large scales you got to step back and you've got to like learn how to paint, like be quite clever with your color palette and your brush strokes, and sometimes I do find myself still like getting lost in the small insignificant detail that I probably shouldn't be paying as much attention to, things like that. But as I paint more and more larger and more realistic murals, I've developed more techniques to get the paint on the wall quicker and layer it quicker. And so I always do an underpainting for most of my things. So if I'm painting, say, a dog in a mural, I'll just basically slap on just blobs of color, which is like the base color of the dog.
Yeah.
Because you're using exterior grade house paints, they dry really fast, and then you go on top of that with the layers. So you work from dark to light to achieve that depth as well. And that's sort of that's how I figured it out. I guess there's no right or wrong way to paint murals, because it's not really like an industry where you do a specific degree or a course to do it. It's kind of a career that's where like fine artists and street artists have kind of met in the middle, and we're kind of learning from each other, I guess.
Yeah. One thing I found interesting with the fact that you're painting at all these locations and you're on Instagram, I was just wondering if there's a good way, and also the fact that you're signing your work and you've got the Instagram handle. Is there a good way for like people to find your work when you like add the location of where it is? And have you had people like hunting down your work by the location that's been tagged and things like that?
I've more so the clients that I work with, I think, have referred me. So quite often, if they've really enjoyed the experience of me working for them, I politely ask if they can write me a review or a testimonial so I can put it on my website. And then usually they do, and that helps a lot. And I just generally try to stay in touch with my clients as well, because quite often there's repeat work there, and it's not just about, like, obviously I want to put out an exceptional quality piece of artwork, but I'm also customer service to me is extremely important, and making sure that I connect with my customer, and and that they know that I'm a kind, friendly, easygoing person as well, and they not just like my artwork, they also like to work with me, and they like to and I like to make a conscious effort to, like, when I'm painting in public, to stop and talk to people. If they come up and want to chat to me, I'll stop painting and I'll chat, because that could be your next job as well. That could be they might tell you, but they might tell their friend, or they might know someone. So it's all about networking as well, and making connections, and just you just never know who you're going to meet, who you're going to chat to. I just find yeah, if I just talk to people while I'm painting,
Mm.
so that's often quite
It's
an easy way to get jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity um, to make those connections, like face-to-face connections, because you are right there. You can talk to. I mean, like if you're, I suppose you're getting paid for getting the painting done, not necessarily by the hour. So if you're talking to somebody like and having a good chat to them, but it won't matter so much. Another thing
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I was going to say as well, in my other business that I had, which was like a traveling cinema business, I found the best customers, like marketing things always say, oh, you need to get fresh people in, blah blah blah. But the best people you need to keep a good contact with are the people who have already used your services, who know who you are, just to like keep them in the mix and remind them of what you're doing and things like that.
Oh,
And
definitely.
I think like what you were saying about that's spot on. You just need to keep that contact with the people who you've already been working with.
Just a quick intermission to say that the Fork in the Road podcast has a Patreon as well, where you get a whole bunch of special things. You get an extended hour-long advert-free things, like you get to ask the podcast guests questions. You get a blog where I deep dive things which, might help make you successful and me successful, because I'm learning along the way too. You can also chat with me one-on-one and talk about your art business and make it work together. Back to the interview.
What's the craziest place? What's been the most difficult location you've had to do a painting?
Definitely this one, which actually the mural turned out beautiful, and the client was absolutely lovely. She wanted a mural by her swimming pool, and there was the access. I didn't really come and like see that the access to the wall was actually really difficult. So I think it was like 4 meters high and probably about 6 meters wide, and there was about this much pavement between the wall and the swimming pool. And I was going to stand on something, and then so we got a big beam and we put it across the pool as well. So the whole time I was balancing between the beam and the pavers, and I had to balance my platform ladder on the beam and the pavers. And then there was one part of the top corner that I just could not for the life of me reach, because there was some bushes and stuff in the way, and I couldn't push my ladder over enough to stand on it. And I remember I climbed up onto the roof, and I was balancing on like the fence and the roof and painting upside down, like trying to paint these leaves. And I was just like, what am I doing? I was just like, but then I got done in the end, and then that was a learning. This was like earlier on in my career as well. So I was good at painting, but I was just like, I got to also check for access, issues, because some walls and some parts of the walls are really hard to get to. But if you figure it out, everything's figure outable. And then that mural turned out to be awesome, and I loved it. Still one of the ones that I showcase in my portfolio and everything, and the client was lovely. And I also did another job for her. She got me to do some like live illustrations for her birthday. I also came and like people like as they walked past and stuff. So that was really cool too. And she's always recommended me to other people and all that kind of stuff. So and the painting in staircases is quite challenging too. So I did a mural. My kids' school, actually, and in the stairwell, and just had to sort of rig up luckily I had some friends that had a scaffolding business, and they helped me kind of rig up scaffolding so I could like get to the heights and then get to the lows, and I was kind of climbing up and in and around the scaffolding in this really narrow staircase trying to paint all these things. That was really cool. I enjoyed that one as well. So I enjoy a challenge.
Yeah, that's cool. And in the process of like in those initial stages, do you find ways of because obviously there's the job brief, but do you find ways to like sneak in your own particular style, like a few hands here and there, or some signature thing which kind of you can definitely because I can tell they're all your style, like when I look through your gallery. But
I think so. I mean, as a commission artist, you get asked to paint certain things, but I'm finding that people are starting to seek me out for the type of work that I do now, which is cool. So I do notice that I like to make things look shiny, and I like to make things look glowy and lush. And that's something that wasn't a conscious choice. That's just something I've started doing. I'm like, oh, that looks nice. And then, and I started doing it in most of my jobs, and no one's said not to. So yeah, so I try to add a bit of and I find when things, when you work from dark to light and then you use white right at the end, it just makes it look a little bit shinier and that little bit like more highlighted, and it plays with the contrast of the artwork a bit more. So I've been playing around with that kind of thing, and just I love working with depth. I want to create murals that look like you can like walk into them. I think that's what I'm leaning towards. Experiment with that more, and I want to try and find ways to bring in my older graphite drawings into my mural designs. So now I'm starting to apply for, I haven't done this before, but I've started applying for mural festivals. Only just recently. I haven't heard it back from any of them, but just sort of saying, because they encourage, I feel like mural festivals encourage like the artist's creativity a bit more than sort of having a brief saying this is what we want you to paint, and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to and I just have to also put time aside to do my own paintings, to get and paint for myself, so I can experiment with these ideas that I've got. I haven't had a chance yet because I am still doing, because being a commission artist is my job, so they are prioritized over me painting for fun. And then sometimes I don't want to paint for fun because I've been painting for work. But I like being a commission artist, so I enjoy that people ask me to do, and that I can I can put their ideas onto a wall and make them beautiful, and then
because you've got I'm just wondering, are you mainly your business? Is it mainly all mural work, or is it like, I'm just wondering what the revenue streams are in terms of your mural, like public work and your digital illustrations and your original works? Is that pretty much your revenue streams, or have you got other
things?
Mainly
murals. It's mainly murals. I think what my main income is, and I probably advertise murals the most. I find that what I'm working on at the time, just whatever I'm showcasing on Instagram, that's what the work I get. So sometimes I go through periods of like doing digital illustration a lot, and that picks up usually around Valentine's Day and Christmas, and people want family portraits and stuff, and then I'll do a few of them, and then I'll get more of a demand for that kind of work because I'm showing it more. And then in school holidays, sometimes I get a lot of calls from councils wanting me to do art workshops, and then I start showing photos of me doing art workshops, and then I get more interest in that. So I just I probably need to structure it a bit better, because I am a bit all over the place, but I also just take on the work as it comes as well, because I'm also the primary parent, the primary caregiver for my two kids. Can't take on like a huge amount of work. I generally work between 9 and 3 Monday to Friday, because on the weekends, we've got sport and their activities, and so I say that I'm a full-time artist, but also I probably I do paint probably only 30 hours a week kind of thing. So but I do a lot of admin and a lot of bookkeeping and a lot of designing, like when they're gone to bed, or when I've got time like that as well. So I work my life around my kids, and I'm very grateful that I can do that.
In terms of the future of your business, I'm just wondering, whereabouts do you want to take it? And also with the rise of like AI, I'm finding a lot of the AI things are helpful for your business. But I'm just wondering, I think it will possibly take away a lot of people's jobs as well. I think potentially your job will be one of those ones, because you're actually creating on a wall, and you've got to go in and physically put it there. I feel it's fairly safe. But what are your thoughts on that? Because I just feel the whole industry, jobs are changing going to be changing around the world quite soon.
I just think you can tell. I think there's a certain soul to like art that is created by a human, and then there's
Yeah.
a certain like soullessness that is, you can still just tell, like you can look at something and be like, that's AI generated. And I feel like the more we are being shown AI generated work, the more we can easily pick it up. I don't know. And
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me too much because it does come in handy sometimes when I am
Mm.
stuck with idea generation and someone's given me some sort of far-fetched thing that they want, and I'll type into an image generator, like just to get some inspiration of what that might look like. It never is like what I want it to look like, but I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But I usually get my references from, there's lots of Facebook groups where they're just called free reference photos for artists, and they're
Right.
photographers. They take photos of like wildlife and landscapes and animals and stuff, and I'll just go in there and type, hey, I need a photo of a I don't know, like of an iguana. Has anyone got
Yeah.
iguana photos? And people will send photos, and so I prefer sort of more photographic references that I can sort of alter myself in Photoshop if I need to.
Yeah.
So my concepts are usually a bit of a mishmash of photos and digital illustration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's how I create my concepts. But I do use the software. I'm not going to lie. Like if I get stuck with an idea for something, I'll type it in, or like if I'm like trying to picture like a garden with a path, I might type in there like show me a garden with a path, and then I'll be like, okay, cool, and then it'll just spark a bit of inspiration, and then I'll create my work. But they're never the best because it's never the best because it's not the right ratios, and it's never quite right. Like it's but sometimes it's just funny. Sometimes I'll put one of my artworks in an image generator, my old graphite ones, and I'll write in there, how do I do this, or how would I colorize it, and see what it comes out with. And I don't really have any feelings towards it, and I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna like they can't paint walls or anything yet, so but I'm not too concerned.
I think it's a useful tool.
It is,
And I think a lot of people are worried, but I think it's just it's a bit like Photoshop or anything like that. When like the comment always used to be when people were looking at photos, they go, "Oh, that's Photoshop, mate. That's Photoshop."
Yeah.
And now it's like, "Oh, that's AI, mate. Oh, that's AI." It's just like
it's just
the next thing.
Same with like Chat GTP. I mean, you can tell when people use Chat GTP now. It stands out like balls. It's like, oh yeah, use that because it uses all the same words and it formats everything like the same. And so at first, I remember when that came out, people like who were copywriters, who were people who were writers for a living, it's like, oh my god, it's the end of that industry, and it's not because it's all robotic. It's all the stuff it spits out is just, you can tell it's been AI generated. It's AI generated content. And so you can still there's still a level of like authenticity. You can tell when it's done by a person.
And I think what you're doing as well, when you see all your stories on Instagram and your photographs, and they see you out there sweating away in the sun, you can tell that there's the real person behind it, and putting their passion into it. So
I really struggle in the sun. I much more comfortable when it's the middle of winter. I don't like the rain, but that is also annoying. But I much prefer to be out there in 6 degrees with a beanie and gloves and a jacket on than be sweating away in the sun. Oh my god, I'm so pale, so I get sunburnt so badly. But if it's over like 35 degrees, you can't really paint in, or I can't really paint in anyway, especially the direct sunlight, because the paint dries too fast and you waste a lot of paint because
I was wondering that.
skins on it, and you have to peel the skins off, and then the paint gets hot, and and I like to blend on the wall as well. I don't do a lot of paint mixing. I actually mix my paints on the wall. I don't know if that's correct or not, but it works for me, especially when I'm leaves. I like to just sort of dip my brush in like green, blue, yellow, white, and then paint a leaf on the wall and just see how the leaf looks, and blend it until I'm happy with it and stuff. So
that sounds cool. So I mean, you've got a really, I mean, from what I can tell you, I mean, you're doing amazing work. You've got an amazing public artwork, what would you? I mean, because this whole podcast is the fork in the road between starving artist and a thriving artist. What is your version? Because it doesn't have to be financial to be a thriving artist. But what is your definition of a thriving artist?
For me, it's freedom of time, a bit more freedom of time and flexibility. So I do what I do, and I'm grateful because I can still be a present mum in my kids' lives. Like, I'm not doing like a 9 to 5. I am working as an artist, and then I still get to coach my daughter's netball team, and I still get to go to assemblies, and I choose my hours. So I don't get told what time to be at work. I tell them I'll be here at this time. And then if there's a day where I can't come in because I've got a sick kid or that someone's got a dentist appointment, I'll say, yep, I'm just going to be in a bit later this day. I've got to do this. And people they're fine with it. It's, for me, success. So it's different for me because there's a lot of artists out there that they don't have those responsibilities, and but for me, it's like I like that flexibility. So for me, it's success. I have a good income from it, and I can be flexible. That, for me, flexibility is the best. Yeah,
for sure. Thank you very much for sharing a window into the world of outdoor mural public art, because it's something completely new idea to me. So I'm fascinated to hear all about it.
yeah, for sure. No worries. It was great to talk to you. Thanks for chatting to me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Fork in the Road podcast, or watching the Fork in the Road podcast. For those people watching on Patreon, we also have it as a video on Spotify and YouTube. If you like the idea of chatting with artists, talking about how you go from starving to thriving, how you become a successful artist, whatever that means to you, whatever a thriving artist means. If you like this kind of thing, you can support the podcast in many ways. Apart from becoming a Patreon, you can just share it with your friends, or you could leave a review on iTunes. I think iTunes do review. Whoever does reviews, if you look in your podcast channel, if it allows you to do a review, or if you're watching on YouTube, please comment, please like, and I won't be one of those podcasts that go, you got to give a 5-star review. If there's something about the podcast you don't like, let me know. Write it in the comments and see if I can, tweak it a little bit to make it work better for everybody. But yeah, 5-star review would be pretty awesome. But anyway, check you next time.